Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 701.
From the sleepy suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio, there are assembled the world's two greatest podcast hosts, created from the cosmic legends of the universe. Sean Whalen.
Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast. I'm a big fan of variant colors. My love for Batman is that stuff. Let's talk some comics.
And Jim Segulin.
How's it going, eh? You know me and Superman. I'm really loving what they're doing. Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast.
Their mission, to discuss DC Comics in books, movies, and television several times a month in 1 to 3 hour episodes. And to serve all mankind.
Outstanding.
Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, drnorge, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim, the sensei of the whatnot, Segulin. On this podcast, Jim and I are going to be taking a special look at Wonder Woman issue 800, and we're also going to share a listener voicemail and the first of a two-part Speeding Bullets catch-up, just talking about some DC news and comic book-related news. We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Over at DCBService.com, you can order Wonder Woman #1. $4.99 regularly, 50% off only $2.49. This is the series that is teased in Wonder Woman 800. Over at InStockTrades.com, they have their deals of the week, which includes the Batman vs. Robin hardcover, $29.99 regularly, 50% off only $14.99, and the Sword of Azrael trade paperback, $19.99 regularly, 50% off only $9.99. I want to thank DCB Service and In-Stock Trades for continuing to support our show. Jim is on vacation, and we pre-recorded some content to make sure that we had regular episodes coming in for you. I do want to shout out the fact that July 2nd was his birthday, and I wish a very special happy birthday to the sensei. Mr. Segulin, what kind of a podcast are we?
Holy train wreck of spoiler warning, Dr. Norge. Let's see if we can do it better this week. Celebrate, celebrate, issue 800. Celebrate, celebrate, issue 800. Raging Bullets is a spoiler warning. Spoiler show. We go in depth into plotline, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're discussing on today's show. So if you haven't read the issue, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
Let's talk some comics.
Carter Hall, scientific genius from a far-off world, flies into action as Hawkman.
Our first discussion is on Wonder Woman 800. First story is Whatever Happened to the Warrior of Truth, Part 2. The writers are Becky Cloonan and Michael W. Conrad. Art by Joel Jones, Althea Martinez, Mark Morales, Nick Robles, Todd Nayok, Skylar Partridge, Cully Hammer, and Jen Bartel. Colors by Jordi Belair, Tamara Bonvillain, and Jen Bartel. Letters by Pat Brousseau. Cover by Yannick Paquette. Variant covers by Megan Huang, Daniel Samper, and Tome Mori. DC Pride variant cover by Brandon Ann Stein. DC Swimsuit variant cover by Michael Allred and Laura Allred. Associate editor is Chris Rosa. Editor is Brittany Holzer. Group editor is Paul Kaminsky. And Wonder Woman was created by William Moulton Marston. Superman created by Cleveland's own Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster by special arrangement of the Jerry Siegel family. The second story, Trinity, is written by Tom King with art by Daniel Samper, colors by Tomi Mori, letters by Clayton Cowles. Associate editor is Chris Rosa. Editor Brittany Holzer. Group editor Paul Kaminsky. And once again, Wonder Woman is created by William Moulton Marston.
I'm a big fan of celebrating these anniversary issues. It's something important. You know, Wonder Woman's hitting 800. We're going to be talking about The Flash a little later. That's hitting 800. And yes, we're getting new Dawn of DC launches for these titles. I think it's important to acknowledge the length of publishing history. It's something about acknowledging the medium, you know, and the fact that this is a medium that has been around for so long. And for a book to continue to have that, I think comics need to celebrate that. The fact that as a medium, it's evolved, adapted. I don't want to say it survived. It's evolved, it's adapted. It's always a voice. Comics aren't, it's not just about surviving. It's about the fact that this is this art form. This is this way for creators to be able to tell stories and spark imagination. And I think it's just really, really cool to celebrate these anniversaries. I'm looking at this Paquette, and I think it's Paquette, and if I'm butchering it, apologies, because it's gorgeous. This cover is gorgeous with the doves around Wonder Woman. I mean, it's just because this story is so much about. She's gone through these changes in recent years where she's become a god, but yet she's got this mortal side to her, and it's getting in connection with the Amazon and the human and, the person that's really touched so much of the world. Her humanity is a really important part of herself, and I love that this story is so about connecting with that piece of her, because this cover, I think, really embodies so much of a critical piece of Diana. Yes, she's the warrior. Yes, she's the goddess. Yes, she's all those pieces. But there's also this peace that she brings. And there's something about that I just think is really strong. She is, in many ways, the optimistic conscience of the DC universe. And I just love this cover. It's gorgeous. The use of the lasso surrounding her, I think, is just a really cool framing technique. I love the doves. I just love the sky. Just everything about this. It looks just like really beautiful and majestic. It's just a sharp cover.
Oh God, yeah. And it's some of my favorite stories with Wonder Woman have been when she was the goddess of war and then became the goddess of peace. I thought that was a really cool story arc. And anytime when they're dealing with really showing the lasso, when they're referring to it as the perfect. I love that. I thought that was just kind of a really neat dive into the lasso and just, her as who she is. You think about it, it's compassion, it's love, it's understanding, it's strength, it's all these wonderful attributes that she really does project and bring to the DCU. And it's kind of neat that she's getting her due. And especially recently, since we've been doing the show, I've seen a dramatic change in how she's being approached and how she's being handled. And I really like that. And it's one of those things I've said multiple times, how me as a kid, I wouldn't read a girl comic. And I was an idiot. And I admit, I was an idiot back then. I wish younger me had read some of the Wonder Woman stuff, because there was some great stories going on. And I've since gone back and read the stuff that I would have been reading as a kid. And I'm like, dang, this is awesome stuff. This is some classic, just epic stories being told that I personally missed out on because I was an idiot. Because I said, I can't read a girl comic. It's not. It's a comic book, yes. But it is an epic. It's an amazing story, an amazing hero. And I'm very happy with how things have been going in the Wonder Woman universe. I always said I want more Wonder Woman titles. I would love just a title that's just Diana. Then I would love an Amazon title where it's talking about all the other members of Diana's circle. And it was neat. $7.99 and $800 really did go through all of the different members who are in Diana's circle. And those are the other people that I would love to be part of the other Wonder Woman title. Have one title that is just Wonder Woman, but have another title that has all those other supporting cast. And it's funny, it's odd saying supporting cast to me, because they're such powerful characters. In my mind, they could carry, any one of them could carry their own book. But I know just in general how comic book universe and how publishing companies have to go with. And, I don't know if a Steve Trevor book could carry itself. Personally, it would for me, but putting him in a book where he's got other members of the Wonder Woman universe in there, maybe that story would last. Maybe that would continue on. I'd love to see that kind of stuff going on with Wonder Woman, because we had that Wonder World title for a little while that they got rid of, but I love that title. I thought that was wonderful. I was like ecstatic, and all the different stuff they've done with the Amazons recently. I'm like, yes, more of this, please keep giving us more. And and they did really. I'm like, come on, guys, you got it right there. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I'm really enjoying about this. And actually, let me comment first on what you're saying here. I'd love the book that you're talking about, too. There's another part of me I would like more miniseries, because that seems to be more the route that things are going right now for some of what you're talking about. Let's give them a 6-issue miniseries and do a contained story. I'm good with that, too. What it is these characters are really, really strong. And there's stories to be told with them. There's more depth to these characters to be explored. And Diana's world's always better when we know more about the larger tapestry. Here's the thing. You and I, first character we're going to be talking about in this one is Yara Flor. Yeah. I loved her book. It was a great book, a great character. There was some real strong distinction between her and Diana. I really liked the backstory. It was a book I wanted to be an ongoing. And unfortunately, sales numbers, things like that, just didn't sustain it. But I'm glad they gave it a shot. And I'm glad that they're not dropping the character. And so when you see her in this story, it's really important to know that, yeah, this is a character that is going to be a part of the DC universe. There's a lot they can do with her. I just think there's something really great about it. And the artwork, one of the nice things about this 800th issue and how it does it, we're in Diana's dream, right? And Diana's trying to reconnect with these elements of herself. And the first thing that she's doing is just connecting with the people that are closest to her. I love the art transitions, meaning, we've got this art piece that's in the Yara Flor sequence, where we're also have Diana not only connecting with Yara Flor, and I really feel like she's really connecting with Yara Flor there. Like this is a shared dream or, one of those sequences, which is really kind of cool to see that, they're really talking through what Yara's given up. It's something that we don't talk about so much when we talk about superheroes. It's always that sense of, no pun intended, wonder. That, you've got powers now and you're able to do all these cool things and look at, you're hanging with these people, but you give up a normal life. There's that balance is something that we talk about secret identities, why characters have them and things like that. But it almost seems like a constant for these characters at times. And I love that she's like, this is my choice and I don't have any regrets. I guess I never thought, though, to mourn the life I lost in the process. So she never really had a chance to have that closure. And I love how this opening sequence was a chance for her to kind of reflect in ways that she hadn't. It's very smart. This is really good writing in this because we're dropped into this. We don't really know what's going on at first. It's not till the next page in the Isle of Healing that we're kind of like, the cave of everyone, where we realize Diana's going through this ritual process for a purpose of finding her own balance, reconnecting with herself, grounding herself again in a way that's really important to her. It's a risky venture. And I like that they're concerned about what she's doing. It sets up a framing mechanism for this embracing Diana's history. Like the 800th issue should be about this. But I love that there's a story that it explains why. Why are we jumping from character to character? And there's something neat to it.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, big time. And it was neat because how, as you said, they had this great Yara sequence. And, of course, then you go into the other Wonder Girl, Donna Troy. And Donna Troy is one of those characters that, I don't want to say I missed out on her because I did read this. I've gone back and I've read the stuff. But she is somebody that I overlooked in a way. It's not the first time I read through and I read her, I didn't realize how much of an impact she really did have on the DC universe. How much impact she had on the people around her.
Donna?
Yeah. And that was when I was first reading, I think I was focused so much on the other Titans that I overlooked her. If that makes any sense. And
there are stories like Who is Donna Troy, and it had follow-ups that are essential reading in Titans. And I'm more building off of what you're saying. In the day and age of apps and digital, where it's easier to get these stories and honestly to get them in print in collected editions and things like that. There's some great stories if you do searches for Donna Troy specifically that are out there that are well worth reading to really appreciate exactly what you're talking about with this character.
Yeah, and it's something actually when I started doing some more of my Wonder Woman deep dives, I started actually reading more of her and seeing just her connection. And I'm so glad that in this 800 they talk about that connection, about her importance that she has to, she and Diana have with each other. It's not just yes, Donna Troy needs Wonder Woman. No, Wonder Woman needs Donna Troy. And that's something that there's a lot of characters out there who they look to her as that, that linchpin, as that crucial piece in our puzzle. But to me, it seems like even the other characters sometimes don't give her the credit. So I love this sequence where, again, we do see Diana giving her, the nod, giving her the credit, saying, "Hey, you are, my favorite star in the night sky." I love just that notion of, that how Diana looks at Donna that way. I thought that was a really cool, just again, really, she didn't get as many pages as the other characters did. But I think they did a good job in a short period of time to explain how important Donna is to Diana. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's something really special about the character. I've always been a big fan of Donna Troy. And that really goes a lot back to, my childhood, the Wonder Woman TV series, the fact that, I got introduced to the character there. The Teen Titans, not just the Wolfman and Perez. As a kid growing up, I got very into the sidekicks. A lot more of it was due to like Mego. I didn't have every Mego figure, and I didn't have the Wonder Girl figure, but I was aware of the Teen Titans, and the Teen Titans had accessories, and they were characters you could get. I had Speedy, and it was judicious, as far as you grabbed certain characters, and it was, I had Green Arrow, so I wanted his sidekick. It was kind of like what you were saying before, though. I didn't have a Wonder Woman as a kid growing up. I do now because I have the Mego Wayne Foundation set up with, a lot of characters that I didn't get at the time that have been like reproduced now, but also some of the newer ones that have been created since then by either Mego relaunching them, the new version of Mego, or the Figures Toy Company putting them out. And, there was my awareness of characters through that. Animation was another area where I became a lot more aware of some of these characters. But then New Teen Titans was really out of the gate. I was really reading Donna Troy and reading that group. And it became my DC X-Men, it's the only other way to say it. Those books were running neck and neck on what they were doing as far as the quality of tales, but also really being able to explore. Because these were the sidekicks, and they weren't tied to the Justice League and their own titles, Teen Titans was able to do a lot of character development, a lot of character growth, because these are characters that were not associated with other books. Even Dick Grayson at the time, there was no Nightwing series, and he was not in Batman proper. So they were able to do things with the character to progress them. And I think Donna Troy really benefited from being in that book because you didn't have to worry about conflicting with another title, moving her forward in such a way that now all of a sudden, it makes no sense for her solo series. There was none. She wasn't in Wonder Woman. So she's a character that really has had some great stories. And out of these books, one of the things you're keying in, Jim, is I think one of the nice things about Anniversaries, I want to read more of her. She's such a great character. Cassie's another one I did not read as much of Cassie's introduction as I did when she got into like Young Justice and stuff like that. I read all of Young Justice. So she's a character I kind of want to go back and see like the roots of the character, like what led to her, because I read everything in Young Justice. I did not read what came before. So I'd love to see the introduction of her. And I know this is kind of meant to be a homage of sorts to her introduction because it's got, some John Byrne kind of vibe to it. The artwork's really, really good on this as far as in what it was capturing, like in kind of an era. And I really appreciated how this story is kind of this nice mix of current today and also now acknowledgement of nostalgia of certain eras. And this really is a great, and it's meant to be a great homage to the roots of that particular run of Wonder Woman, which I really enjoyed.
Oh, big time. Yeah. And again, I think they did a brilliant job with, again, really short pages, but really capture that energy, that fun, just the groove of Cassie in this. Yeah. And I thought, again, it was neat going Wonder Girl, Wonder Girl, Wonder Girl. Right in a row, boom, 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 knocking the three out. Three dramatically different characters to the point where, Donna, doesn't go by the title Wonder Girl anymore. And Cassie, I don't think she does either. I don't know if she has a new code name or if she's just being herself. And then Yara is the only who is the official Wonder Girl. So it was kind of neat how you see the evolution. And again, she's another character. Cassie is another character I would love to see her in some type of title, so we get to see what she's currently at, what she's currently doing, where she's at. What's the haps on her, for lack of better terms. It's kind of, I don't know. Again, like you, I was happy to see this. I thought it was really cool. Captured the same kind of vibe, and it's going along within Diana, her going through this process with her old friends and her old family, just her connection, her inner circle, of the people, getting reconnected with them. And I love the ending sequence when they're both punching Darkseid, and they both have that great artwork. For me, on this one was absolutely, really stellar. I loved all the artwork, but this one really did capture that youthful energy, that groove. And I love just that look on both Diana and Cassie's face as they're punching out Darkseid. I thought that was kind of a neat just way to go. And then you go into Artemis. And I think that, for me, was just a really cool page-turning effect where you got this really happy, yay, energy to Artemis, the one who betrayed, the betrayer, the enemy. But is she truly a betrayer? She was just honoring the wishes, of Hippolyta and everything. And just the turmoil, the personal strife these two have gone had against each other. I love just how they, again, took in one page.
I love the contest and the challenge of Artemis. Yeah. I mean, it's if you were to ask me my top 10 Wonder Woman stories, that's easily in the top 5. I love that story. Artemis is a character who I think they've been trying to figure out since all of that, and I think he's had some very good stories and some okay stories. She's a character I adore. I loved seeing her here. I love that there's a different vibe to it. I love that, Wonder Woman's grabbing her in the fire. And, it's kind of her own reflection as far as what those relationships, what those encounters, that conflict has meant for her and her own growth. I really liked that. There's something for us all to learn about this, because we all have these, we have best friends, we have family, we have people that we've had like a roller coaster kind of relationship with, and they all help us grow. And to jump from her to Bruce, I thought was such a cool transition, because I didn't expect this. I didn't expect to see her in Bruce's dream and really kind of getting to know her friend. And, I mean, something that she already knew that was there, but, the two of them having this shared experience where this is what Bruce's dreams are like. He knows she's there. This is private for him. This is a part of Bruce that we talk about masks, and this is one of Bruce's masks, is that he only lets people in so far to this. Diana's seeing him laid bare. That's not comfortable for Bruce. It's not comfortable for Bruce with his kids. It wasn't comfortable with Alfred. It was not comfortable with Leslie Tompkins. Not comfortable with Diana. Yet there is a part of him that starts to relax. That calm that you get. Very similar. It's what you and I love about the relationship with Alfred, right? When we get to see sequences like this, it looks different when it's Diana, because he's trying to run away from it in his own way. Yeah. He's trying to get back to, he's doing what Batman does, right? Rather than tear down the walls, I got to get back to business. I've got to go take care of and she's like having none of it. And I really loved how this was two friends saying, look, it's okay. Perhaps we need each other here. And this is a method of understanding between the two of them. They learned something about each other there, that there's a misunderstanding of who they are. And, Bruce, even though you hold yourself to the highest standard, you're allowed to make mistakes. But from me, everyone expects perfection, even you. And he's like, that's not what I meant. You think I have nothing to learn, that I don't fail, that I don't have doubts. And I love that she's, again, to the point of connecting with humanity. We all need these moments, right? Because we all put on personas for work. We put on personas with friends and things like that. There's those people that you truly trust, where you sit there and you start to relax. You start to open up. You share things that aren't as comfortable, aren't as solid, aren't as stable. And it's important to do that, because getting it out there helps you to reflect on it. Sometimes it gets feedback from the other person. I loved how raw and real this felt. This is really, really good writing. And,
big time.
And the artwork captures the feelings of the characters so well. I mean, this is terrific sequence. Terrific sequence.
Dude, man, I'll tell you, and even continuing on, after she's like, you think I have doubts? I love Bruce coming back. He's like, I just meant you're so much better than me. I'm in pain all the time, and I look to you because you're my rock. I loved that sequence. And again, that right there is Bruce Wayne putting down his guard.
Yep.
Bruce Wayne completely letting down the guard. And even then in the dream sequence, he reverts back to childhood Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and she's like, you know, and I love how the fact that she's like, you took that pain and you replaced it. It's like, what do you mean replaced it with what? Replaced it with love. You know, the pain will remain, but you'll never suffer alone. And in that time, you have Diana comforting young Bruce. And that's when Bruce wakes up. And that's when Bruce realizes, you know, always there when I need you the most. I loved this sequence between these two. You know, it's one of those things where, again, you know, why are they the Trinity? Because they are on such an equal level with each other. You know, Bruce is a 100% mere mortal, yet he can keep up with Wonder Woman and Superman. You know, and, you know, she is, you know, that, as we said before, she is just that pure compassion, love, hope, understanding, everything that you want in a hero. And that is completely who Wonder Woman is. Love seeing that, you know, that support for Bruce here.
But their differences are also really critical, because you're right about everything you're saying. It's also the piece, though, that there's distinct difference between Batman and Wonder Woman emotionally and how they operate, and they draw things off of each other. On a certain level, there's similarities between Superman and Diana that they both need to be able to relate to. And I love that the next sequence leads to that.
Yeah.
Where we learn something about Clark and the heavy weight that he carries. And I feel it's stuff that we explore when we talk about his powers and things like that. This is him just telling, you know, like begging, crying, pleading, praying. And he, you know, he's basically saying, yeah, it's hard. You know, for all the pain, there's so much beauty, but even that, cries of 100 newborn babies, farewells for the dying from their friends and family, an exchange of vows, laughter, love, all the moments of every life, they find me. Even here, he's in the Fortress of Solitude, you know, which is supposed to be kind of his escape from all of it, but it's not. And just that sense of, you know, it's never shut off for Superman. Never shut off. And I really love how this is a program where we got the two of them, and it's Clark. She's talking to Clark, you know, and it's really great. I just really loved that sense where it's the two of them just reflecting on, you know, what he's doing well, how good a job he's doing in spite of all of that. It's something nobody can understand, not even her. There are similarities between the two, but she can't understand what it's like to deal with that. She can understand what it's like to deal with overwhelming responsibility, but not this sense of just the constant noise around. And I really loved that in this moment she's helping her friend and also getting this great chance to see portions of the world through his eyes. Mm-hmm. And I thought that, you know, Kryptonian projector kind of thing, I just thought it was cool for them to see that and just have that beautiful, like, see that beauty together, which is something that Diana truly appreciates. It's what grounds him, and it's also what grounds her. And it is a connection between the two of them that they share, and that I think is just really, really cool. I like that. Yeah. I really love that sequence as well.
Oh God, yeah. And, you know, me being the Superman geek I am, these two together are always awesome because, again, they fit so well, and it's, you know, and even like when, you know, Diana and Batman, you know, there is just that equal connection, that equality they have towards each other. Yep. And again, this whole thing with the super hearing, it's the main reason, you know, anybody ever, if I've ever been asked, like, hey, whose power would you want to have? I never say Superman just for this reason, because I know that would drive me insane. That would drive me completely mad, hearing all the cries for help, knowing you couldn't help them. You know, and even to add to it, though, I love how he adds to it about it's not even just the cries for help. You know, the newborn babies, the farewells to loved ones. just those ending moments, those tragedy, moments that there's no way he really could do anything for. But, that hearing all of that and having to be able to block all that out at times, and never really being able to block it out, because even though he may be able to physically block it out, he's still hearing it. He still knows it's out there. Because of all the years of it going on, he still knows. It's, in a way, it's a survivor's guilt in a way, where he's got all these people he knows they're out there that need him, that he can't help. He's got to make 1,000 split-second decisions. Every minute he's got to make thousands. Yes, no, 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 no. I can't help that person. I can't help that one. I'll help that one. It's one of those really cool, horrific things about being Superman. Horrific cool thing about being Batman is he deals with that pain. He lives constantly in pain. And that's part of the reason why he and Catwoman can't really be together, or he feels they can't be together, because that gives him happiness. And he can't have joy to be Batman. Clark tries to always be optimistic, positive, the guy that everybody wants to be around, but he's got all this suffering going on in him that he holds silently, that he doesn't let anybody see. I love these moments.
The moments with Hippolyta, I think, were really great. I'm a big fan of the relationship between the two, and the fact that that's been a complicated relationship, as often is with parents and their children. But certainly with the added pressures of everything that makes Diana and Hippolyta who they are, and things that have happened between the two, it's great that they have that moment. And I think the pacing of this story is something that's really critical to note. You mentioned before starting off with the Wonder Girls. I think that was a great way to open with this. It starts to get gradually more and more personal as you go through. And I think it was just a really well planned out story. Because you could have just done we got to throw in this character, we got to throw in that character. And sure, there's a certain element of that, but what they did with it, the creative really just did a great job with this, is how do we do that? How do we celebrate the anniversary and make sure we are telling a really strong, emotional story that feels very, very Diana, that paints a picture of who she is as a whole? And that's where the pacing was critical. I felt like this was a story that through each interaction, we got to see another little part of her and reconnect with her the same way she's reconnecting with herself. We went on this journey with her, and that's good writing. When it's not just things being thrown at you to see what sticks. It was something that we were taken through a journey. And I loved that this dream was a shared dream. For us as the reader and her. And that was something that I thought was very, very well handled.
And also, shared dream with the different characters.
Correct.
She was in the same dream with them, and I liked that concept of it. And again, even like part one was in 799, which again, that's all the energy that I'm throwing out for this one. Part one had as well. Just her other parts of it was her other team members. Etta, Steve, Ziggy. Her other people that she's connected with, that she's close with. It was all part of that same kind of, having that same kind of shared dream and energies and all that. And it was one of those things where I liked how, you really look at this, how they really did with part one and part two, because it kind of progressed through the cycles. And these people really made sense who they had together, how they went the flows of the Wonder Girls. They went the Artemis, then they went into, Bruce, Clark, and finally her mother. They did a really great, if you look from 799 through 800, and again, after reading 800, I went back and I reread 799, then went right into 800, and it was a really cool read. Part one, you read doing part one, then part two immediately, one after the other. It was actually a really neat way to really show just this evolution and progression through her life and just this connection. And of course, ending in Hippolyta, I think that's the only way you can go, in the sequence. But then when she's in the world of man, I like, once again, they're dealing with, her on Themyscira. It's like, it's time for a change.
Yeah.
And it really did, set up what's next. What are we going to get next out of Wonder Woman? And really was a great way to end off, issue 800.
And just a beautiful sequence of her kind of flying into the future, because we know we're getting a Dawn of DC series. And this is interesting how we're this Dawn of DC initiative, they're gradually kind of refreshing a lot of the main characters too. Like, I didn't expect a Wonder Woman relaunch out of this. I'm glad we're getting one. Not because I wasn't enjoying the book before. Absolutely I was. It's just, there's something exciting when it's planned, when there's an initiative driving it and you hope it leads to something cool. I think what they're doing with Dawn of DC right now is really fantastic. This is the way to do it, though. We've talked about series that are almost jarring in how they reboot and relaunch, and that's where you end up losing readership, where it's almost like a slap to the face to the people that have been following it. Not intended, but when you've got like a status quo that you've gotten behind, now all of a sudden, hey, now they're doing this, and there was no transition to it. It is hard to get motivated because you're afraid of getting invested and then that investment being smacked. This is a great way where my investment in this book up to this point has paid off here. They've given me a sense of closure, a sense of hopefulness to what's coming next. Then by the way, turn the page. We're going to give you a little tease on what's coming next. Boy, was this smart. This is the absolute right way to do this. It's not always done this way. Sometimes books don't have the luxury of doing it this way. This was a classy way to wrap up one segment and kick off in the new direction. And talk about, I've complimented on the artwork on this one. This is beautiful. And I knew we were getting introduced to Wonder Woman's daughter here. So that I knew was a thing. I think what shocked me is in the beginning, wait, we get Damian as Batman and an older John Kent. And I love that he's calling him Jonathan. I absolutely loved everything about how this played out. I want to know, is this our Earth? Is this some other Earth? What is going on? I was captivated by it. I love the smart story of they're kicking off with, what is the relationship between this John and this Damian now, the older versions of them? Where are they at? Talking about humanity and balance, there is some really great, strong moments where these are two characters that have become the new world's finest. They know each other that well. And they're the super sons and all that piece, but this is now years later where they've become now the world's finest. And when we see her dropped into the scene, she's new to us. So we don't know a whole lot about her, and we get to know about her through their explanation of their relationship, their familiarity with her. We are the new friends to the group, and we're going along with them. And I love the perspective. A lot of the perspective is over the shoulder of John and Damian. We are behind them, listening in and looking on. That was a really cool artistic choice. And when she looks back at them, she's looking back at us. Yeah. That was just a really cool way to bring us into the story. I really liked that choice. Very, very. I felt I was walking along that beach with them. Gorgeous beach, great artwork. I was like, woo, this is fun. And this book, the whole thing was a fun read where I was like, you know what? This is neat. I'm hanging with my friends right now on a week. Truly, I got a lot going on this week. I needed this in the best possible way. It wasn't a bad week. It just was, how it is. You get real, real busy and you feel like you're not stopping. This was, hanging with Wonder Woman. How fun is this? And it was just the right issue at the right time. And that sequence I really, really liked because I don't always get that emotion in a story where I feel I love reading the story. I'm captivated by the story and all that. There's times where a book makes you feel like you're in it. This did that.
I'll tell you, adult Damian as the Bat, I cheered.
I'm all in.
I cheered outstanding. I was just like, you open it up and you see them standing there. Mm-hmm. The one, obviously, Superman, I'm like, Batman, wait a minute. And then as soon as he said, pardon me, Jonathan, I'm like, oh, that is Damian. That's an adult Damian. And then I took a second to relook at the costume, and it's got, that Damian flair to it. This is Damian's costume. absolutely love this look, that it's not a cape, it's more of the cloak. He is, he's the heir of the demon, so he's got some Ra's al Ghul thrown in there, but he is the son of the bat, so he has the bat look to him. It was absolutely brilliant, and even just little subtle stuff where he's got the spikes on the gloves. He has the regular, fins on the forearms, but also on the gloves, he's got some spikes just for a little bit of extra damage, And I really did love just his look, and everything you were saying about, I completely agree with you. I was just nodding along with you how cool it was to be the person behind them, following in, listening in on the conversations, and just eagerly anticipating the stories that are going to play out. I love the thing where they're talking about, you spoiled her. Spoiler, you're the one who wanted to bring her along a hunt for a killer croc when she was 6. I was like, oh, that is outstanding. And again, I'm laughing, going, yeah, I can see Damien do that. He's like, what were you, just babysitter? Yes, like we promised your father 3 times. Oh, God, I was just, these little bits, again, I'm hearing Damien and Clark, Jonathan, and just seeing them. I was just like, this is absolutely perfect. I so want to see this. But then they shifted on you. You have these really cool, funny moments, and then they're shifting on it about how, hey, we made a pledge that we would never do what we were about to do. We're breaking a sacred oath here. Are we sure we got to do this? And I love just how, both, again, Damien and Jonathan both were like, hey, do we really need to do this? And Trinity seems a little bit more carefree, a little more freer spirit. I mean, odds are she's probably younger than both of them. Yeah, well, we know she's younger than both of them because they were babysitting her when she was an infant. But, it's, I did like that difference. And again, as going through these different trials, that first trial of pain, just seeing John just screaming, when you make a Superman scream in pain, oh, that's got to be hurting bad.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think one of the things that I liked about the over-the-shoulder perspective and bringing it in this journey, I love Lord of the Rings style quest. I love role-playing games. I love, those type of epic stories. Fantasy in general. When you find a way to combine these type of stories with this type of fantasy genre, it works really well in Wonder Woman stories in particular. And this idea of going on this quest with them and knowing that she set up saying, you're not going to win this. John, you're going to need to hold on to that and not let go. You're going to feel an intense amount of pain. And that pain is not going to end until she finishes her part of the journey. So she's leaving him there trapped in that loop, knowing that he's not going to let go. So he's, you got to count on that person. So their friendship is that strong that she knows he's going to just take this. So that way they can go on to the next part. This skill fight that Damien's going in, which he gets excited about, he can't win. Now, Damien's going to be driven to win. Damien's going to be driven to learn. He's going to be driven to improvise, adapt, and overcome, as we've talked about many times with him. But he can't. This is not a fight he can win. What he's got to do is not lose. He's got to keep going. He's got to be able to withstand the fight. And she trusts him enough in his skill that he's going to be able to hold his own. Her heading into the honor and being able to... We learned about her lassos. We haven't learned everything yet. She got more than one. She's got the lasso of truth, but she has 2 others. And we know one's the black lasso that we're learning something about here. But I want to know more. And I like that this isn't about telling us everything. It's about giving a depth-filled introductory story that teases things that you're going to want to know more about in this upcoming series. This is a really great way to build and bring you in. And, then leading to this confrontation that she has with the guy behind bars and kind of going through that whole story where she wants to know, the truth of this story about his defeat and how, he was defeated. Just knowing that, hey, listen, buddy, you got to speed this up, because my friends are going through a nightmare now, and our point of our quest was the information you can give me. So it's such a cool journey to get to this piece of information, knowing that the information is only the first step in a larger journey. How this all comes back and ties into Wonder Woman, I don't know. I can't wait to find out.
Dude, I'll tell you, I love this sequence. When she first walks in, I'm Elizabeth Marston Prince, champion of the Amazons, leader of the Justice League, daughter of Diana, and the first holder of the 3 lassos of fate. That right there, that opening sequence where she goes into was just a really cool, oh, that is awesome. One, Marston, a nod to William Moulton Marston, so that's kind of cool. But also just the fact that, leader of the Justice League. I like that. I like hearing that she said that, because that tells you in the future there is a Justice League. But the notion of that the lasso of truth is really one of 3 lassos of fate. So what are the other 2 things of fate? That was the thing that was like, oh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
But then this king that's imprisoned talks about the Trinity has been forged and walks among mortal men. Makes me wonder, is she also, forged like Diana? Or was she birthed, the natural way? That's the thing that line right there had me wondering everything, going, oh, that's the case? What's going on here? 100%, they did a brilliant job at teasing all of the stuff coming in Wonder Woman 1. It's funny, we talked before about how neat it is and how awesome it is that Wonder Woman 800 gets her 800, Flash 800 will get his Flash, which we're talking about next. And then they're doing this reboot to the 1, which, threw you for a loop, threw me for a loop. And initially, I was like, no, don't do that. Keep it at 801. Continue on. Flash 801. Don't reboot. Keep the numbers going, because I like that historical number. I wish they'd do that with all their titles. But for some reason, just these sequences here kind of has me going, I kind of want to see one. I want to see how this plays out. I kind of like to see this as a fresh start, and I like that they're doing this. With the whole with this version in the dawn of DC, where it's starting off a new numbering. I kind of like that. And again, it was these sequences that really kind of got me on board with Wonder Woman number 1. Before reading this, I was opposed to it. And I was going to talk about how I think they should keep the numbering going and keep the historical numbers alive and blah, blah, blah. But for some reason, the way they laid this out, like, you know what? I'm kind of cool with that. I like that.
Have you ever taken a look at the sales numbers for issue number 1s?
Oh, I know. It's...
No, what I'm saying is, I get why you personally would want it to be 801, and I'm not knocking you. But from a standpoint of brand new creative team, a chance to bring in potential new readers, historically it's been proven that when you do a number 1, it's going to draw people in. It doesn't always keep people. It's obviously sometimes it's not it doesn't pay off long term. It pays off for that initial issue and maybe a couple afterwards, but then there's a certain amount of drop off. I'm always a fan of when they do that, and it actually is like a marriage of kind of what you're saying and kind of what we know to be true. I like when they do that new number 1, but then they put below it in like small print the legacy numbering. Marvel has done that on a few titles. DC's done it at certain points in time. I wish they'd just keep doing it. Then when you do that, like what they do with these issues where this is Flash 800, you kind of everybody knows kind of where you're at and where to put it in your collection. That's really more of what I want than anything else, is where to put it in the collection. But I also think it meets the needs of what you're talking about. Sometimes for a reader, it's like, I've been reading this. I just want to continue on. Like, this was a great introduction. The next story is a continuation of this one. You're right in that feeling of, that conflicted feeling of, should this be 801 or number 1? And I think you're bringing up an excellent point. So I'm not disagreeing with you. It's more I'm presenting the other side of the story. Like, I get why they do this, and they have to do it. Because what you want to do with this one is, you got a brand new creative team on there. You're hoping that they're going to track some new readers that haven't previously read Wonder Woman or have not read Wonder Woman in a long time. So there's a point in doing it. I like the marriage of acknowledging both audiences is kind of my preference of it. This was a great 800th issue. We actually decided to talk about this before I read the issue. I just loved how this. I did not expect this to be what it was, the home run. I mean, you always hope for, when we pick something to do it on the show, we hope for it to be something that we really want to talk about, because that makes for a far better discussion. Whether we liked it, disliked it, or something, in the middle. We've been very lucky over the years that there's been nothing that we've ever recorded that I haven't wanted to talk about for some reason. And I think it's critical for a segment. Whether you agree or disagree with what we feel about a particular book it's to each person's tastes. But, there should be some depth to our reasoning for wanting to talk about this title. And I did not know I was going to want to talk about this book for the reasons that we did. It was good.
Now, do you have any theory on who this king that she's talking to is?
Nope. Do you?
Initially, I was thinking Zeus. And I know Zeus is dead, but he is a god, so that could very easily come back.
Sure.
But then something about... I don't think it's him. It's one of those things where I don't think it is Zeus. I think it's somebody else. And I'm trying to throw out my brain who it could possibly be. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where we have a king, so who else could possibly be some kings going on in the universe and kings in this kind of thing, in this in this genre. And a weird thought popped in my head, and I don't think it's him.
Okay.
But I'm just going to throw it out there as what if Black Adam.
I'm not disagreeing. I guess why? And when I say why, it sounds like I'm questioning you. I'm not seeing it. But you likely you've thought this through farther than I have. So admittedly, I'm coming at this from limited knowledge as far as what got you where you're at. Why are you thinking Black Adam?
Okay, so first off, this all takes place after some major war that happened.
Okay.
And it's he talks about the, I was there, as you know, Trinity, I was there with the armies, with the war, with your mother and your father, and the beginning of you. So this is somebody who has a history with Diana. Now, again, that does lead to Zeus. That could mean Zeus. And then later on, talking about to the myth that killed America and birthed the new wonder. And just something like that, just kind of like, I don't know. It just something in my head rang, could this be Adam? Could he have been there, and because he's always had that uneasy alliance going on with the Justice League, with, Wonder Woman. He's had that, uneasy alliance with the heroes. Could there have been something? Because there's a reason they had to put this person, trap them in this cage that's hidden, protected by magic and guardians and whatnot. And so they would have to have connection to some type of power, some major power. Again, does lead to the argument of Zeus. But, for some reason, just Black Adam kept popping in my head. And you think back to when Adam's not powered up, he is a little bit of an older, looking guy, and you kind of see the shadowy images of him that could be the older version, unpowered version of Black Adam. I don't know. It's just something that popped in my head for a weird reason. And
I'm not saying you're wrong.
Yeah,
I want to be really clear on this. I'm not, and so I want to be clear on this. I don't have strong feelings on who this character is yet. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm motivated to really kind of try to poke into who is that. Yeah. I feel that way in the sense that who is that? I'm feeling every bit of that. I just am not I'm not in that grind yet of I really want to start putting clues together as far as who it is. So admittedly, I'm in a different place on that end. So I want to start with that. As you were describing it, I wasn't sitting here going, "Oh, I think he's right. It's Black Adam." I'm also not sitting here going, "Oh, I think he's wrong." I don't feel that connection. But I think here's what I think is really cool right now. We both read this story, and you experience this, I want to know who this character is, and I'm starting to think it through. Is it Zeus? Is it him? And I get what you're doing, and I think it's super cool. I don't have the strong feeling of like, oh, it's definitely Black Adam or something like that. And I know you're not saying that. But I'm like living vicariously through you, because normally what ends up happening is, even as you start discussing stuff like that, if it's something I'm motivated by, I'll start like, you're wrong and here's why, because I've already got in my mind my own pathway. I don't on this one. And I'll just, so full disclosure, I don't have like who I think this is, or I just think it's a cool story and I want to know who, and I want the story to take me there. So, and which happens sometimes, right? And I'm entrusting the creative team. I'm enjoying the journey. I'm so into being the fly on the wall of this story that I'm just content to be the fly on the wall because they've got me there. And it's kind of cool. I like that you're having a different experience, but we're both enjoying the same story. I think when comics get that personal, where two people and many people can experience it differently, that's a sign of a good story too, right? Yes. where you start having that experience. But I don't have strong feelings on that. I'm not thinking Black Adam after your explanation, but that's also not an insult. It's just I'm not convinced it's Zeus either. I'm not convinced it's not. I don't know. I'm really, really intrigued at who, like you are, yes. And that's where we're connecting. Is 100%. We want to know who it is. I do too. I'm just not. There's not a big. It's just one of those, for whatever reason, I'm not motivated to kind of speculate. It's like, take me there already. Issue number 1 can't come soon enough, because I think it's September, right? Issue 1, am I right?
Yeah, September is issue 1. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's because of this summer's event. This all kicks off after this summer's event. I think that's the timing, right?
Yes, because there's 2 issues of Night Terrors of Wonder Woman. Then after the 2 issues of Night Terrors, Wonder Woman, Night Terrors, then it goes Wonder Woman number 1.
And I'm cool with that, because I'm excited for Night Terrors. So I like the idea. They're dropping me into this event. They're teasing for me, hey, you're going to take a short break, but when you come back, we're going to talk about this. Yes. This is cool. This is a good way to do it. This is cool.
Oh, but dude, I'll tell you. And again, I know when Wonder Woman number 1 comes out, I'm going to completely change my ideas. Oh no, it's got to be this person. No, it's got to be. And there's going to be multiple. I'm going to have multiple theories as we talk about Wonder Woman 1 and all that. I'm going to have multiple theories on who it is. So this was the first of my theories, was Zeus, and then I had my wild, weird theory of Black Adam. So those are the first 2 of many to come out. I know right now I'm going to do that.
Now we're all over talking about Wonder Woman number 1 when it comes out, right?
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, all right. Because I will tell you, that's where I'm at after this.
Yeah.
Like, Wonder Woman number 1 can't get here soon enough. I want to read it.
Yes.
I'm also, though, it's kind of funny. Normally I'd be like, can you get here already? But then I was thinking to myself, I'm like, well, this is because of Night Terrors. And I'm so jazzed for Night Terrors that I'm like, okay, this is fine. Like, they've got me like booked up with reading that I'm like, I want to follow and enjoy and embrace Night Terror. Like, we're going to do a lot about Night Terrors, right?
Yes.
Are you as in? I know you and I are kind of different sometimes when it comes to horror stories, and we've talked about that on the show. But I feel like you and I are very aligned in the fact that this event, the way that they've laid it out, we're both really into this, right?
Yeah, actually, I'm looking forward to it. I'm kind of curious about it because it's funny, reading horror comics. Hey, I've started doing more of that.
Okay.
One of the things I don't like about with the watching the horror movies and whatnot, I don't like the jump scare.
Okay.
It's something about it I don't enjoy. But when I'm reading it in the book, I don't have the jump scare as much. There have been a couple comics where I'm like, whoa, okay, yeah. I've had a jump scare while reading comics sometimes. But it's not like it is in the movies and the TV shows and all that. So, yeah, I'm all in on this Night Terrors, especially some of the stuff because it's not just the heroes experiencing it, it's the villains.
Right.
Joker's Night Terror is the one I want to see. What does Joker's nightmare look like?
Yeah.
And there's a couple and what's her name? I'm drawing a blank. His new partner.
Punchline you're talking about?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I drew a blank on her name for some reason. She's having a Night Terror episode issue as well.
Okay.
And that's another one. I want to see what her nightmare looks like.
It's funny when you were saying episode. I'm like, what episode does she have? Oh, I'm like, oh, he means the issue.
Come on, I always...
No. Here's the thing. Wait, when you're talking about the Joker and Punchline and Harley Quinn and you're talking episodes, there's a lot of ways you can take that. Beyond the fact that we're talking about a sequence in a comic book, we're talking about I think they regularly have episodes. But yeah, it's this is going to be. I think it's going to be a fun event. I'm looking forward. I guess what's going to be fun is doing the initial episodes, and are they exciting us to continue talking about it on the show? That's going to be real telling. That's the sign of a successful event. Would be that you and I are like, oh, dude, I can't wait to talk about this, or I can't wait to talk about that. That'll be the creative talent they got lined up for Night Terrors. It has me excited. I mean, they've got some really strong creative on that book. I mean, that series of books, I should say. So I'm in. I'm tentatively. I mean, this is going to be fun. It's going to be a fun summer.
Hope this craft can withstand this powerful force.
All right, Jim, I'm jumping on over to the Facebook group, and really quick, we're starting off with a panel that Jock put up. It's Wayne Manor with Bruce walking into the kitchen, and it's the entire Bat family making breakfast together, which is kind of an interesting sort of thing to see in this day and age. But it's part of the out of context comic panels, and it's kind of a fun one.
Yeah, and this is actually from the most recent issue of Batman.
Yeah,
which is it's funny because
it's a great issue, by the way, 136.
Oh God, yeah, and I loved the issue, and I was like, just seeing this again, I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then I liked, the comment about the best part was the next panel was Jason saying, yeah, they tricked me into coming too.
Jared posted a artwork by the late great Darwin Cook, and really, really cool. I'm a big fan of the Darwin Cook art. James William Stubbs mentioned that he just finished Gotham City Year 1, and between this and The Human Target, anytime Tom King wants to do a crime noir story, DC just needs to let him do whatever he wants. I would agree. Gotham City Year 1. Did you read both of those? Gotham City Year 1 and The Human Target?
Yeah, both wonderful. And Tom King, yes. He's on that list of mine of anything I see his name on, I'm jumping on without even reading what the story's about. All I need is just his name on it, and I'm there.
DC Pride 2023 sells out and gets a rush reprint. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
And the reason being, I love these anthologies. I love special anthologies, and I'm glad to see that stuff that isn't part of a monthly title, which before it used to be the monthly titles were always the big draw and stuff, and, experimental stuff like that kind of got lost in the shuffle. I'm glad these are doing well because it's more stories, and it's great stories from great creators. So, yay, cool stuff.
Yeah.
Everett said the Transformers movie's pretty good. Are you a Transformers movie fan? I am. I'm not like a diehard, but I enjoy the movies. Have you seen them? What is your kind of exposure with those?
I've seen the first one, and that was about it. And
did you like it?
Yeah, actually, I liked it. I just, for whatever reason, when all the other movies came out, I didn't see them. I maybe have seen them on the TV, through cable or whatnot, but I don't really. I'm not a Transformer guy, but when I see this stuff, I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. It's one of those things where I'm not passionate either way about it. Put it that way.
I want to see this one because I heard this one kind of reinvigorates the franchise. Kind of like sets up. I don't know if a reboot's the right word, but kind of kicks off a new kind of direction or. And I'm intrigued by it. I've always liked I remember really enjoying the Transformers cartoon. So, and they made an animated movie based off that cartoon. I liked the first couple movies. I don't know that I've seen all of them, but I definitely saw the first couple. And this one, when I saw the trailer of it, I was like, oh, I'm kind of jonesing to see another Transformers movie. So I'm hoping that one's good. A movie that I cannot wait for, Blue Beetle. We got a couple nice little posts here about Blue Beetle, and oh my gosh, that movie poster looks fantastic. August is going to be awesome.
Really looking forward to this movie, and it's the it's kind of like how excited for the Flash. I think they're doing great with the trailers, not giving away too much, but giving enough so that people who have no idea who Blue Beetle is will say, yeah, I want to see that movie.
Jared posted a link to the Cerebro podcast, and there's an interview with Jonathan Hickman where he confirmed that he was courted by DC to do a Legion of Superheroes and or a New Gods before ultimately doing House of X and Powers of X for Marvel. House of X and Powers of X are both outstanding. If you haven't read them, I mean, I know we're DC show and I won't go too much into it, but kind of really this reinvigoration of the X-Men line, and the idea of him messing with the Legion of Superheroes just sounds great. I hope it's something that we can get eventually. I like this little Bob Brundrett posted. It's 1989. Indiana Jones and Batman in the theaters. It's 2008. Indiana Jones and Batman are in the theaters. It's 2023. Indiana Jones and Batman are in the theaters. And I love this Dr. Manhattan.
Yes. They've done that a couple. And there's been a couple clips with Indiana Jones, with the Flash, with Batman. I chuckle every single time I see these. And yes, I agree with you. It is. But I'm actually kind of curious about this Indiana Jones movie. The last couple I'm like, I'll wait till I can see it for free. This one, I'm actually maybe seeing it in the movie theaters.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So you didn't see the one with Sean Connery in the theaters?
No, I saw that at home on the home screen.
What, like in VHS or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, did it?
Because that would have been back in the day of VHS.
Wait, no. Okay, no. Sean Connery, that one I did see in the theater. That was the last one I saw in the theaters.
So the only one, the last one that you didn't see in the theaters. Okay. Justice League Dark is coming to the DC deck building game. What is your exposure with deck building games? I've bought them over the years and collected the cards with every intention of playing the game. The problem I've had with that has kind of been my problem with role-playing games, where it's been the where to play them. What's intriguing me about this one is there is a comic shop not too far from me now that they do gaming nights. And I mean, it's well attended. Mariah and I went in for the first time to take a look at it. We went to a Chinese buffet. And afterwards I saw that this shop was in the same shopping center. It was new. It was a newer shop, at least newer for me. It was back in the neighborhood that I used to live in Mentor. It was more north, closer to the lake. And I hadn't been over there in a while. And it was cool to see a newer shop open. Their premise is it's a comic shop, gaming shop, books, the whole works, but they have a lot of gaming content. And people were playing card deck building games, they were playing role-playing games, they were just tables, multiple tables with people. The whole place was pretty much so loaded from front to back with people playing games. You could get in and navigate, but it was really impressive to see that many people at a gaming night. So it's really kind of their bread and butter. But I collect these things, and then I don't end up doing anything with them because I got nobody to play with. Have you played any deck building games? You're a lot more role-playing experience than I am, but have you dabbled into this kind of stuff?
What's a deck building game?
It's with the card decks where you use the cards and the cards have values and stuff like that.
I know that's the joke. That's my level of experience with deck building games. I would ask you, what is a deck building game?
But you understand the basic premise.
The idea I understand the basic concepts. I never collected any of the deck building games. I've never done that. And again, it's part of it is I just never got into that. Part of it is I know I'm an addict, and I know if I start doing that, then I'll go all in on it, and I'll be spending even more ridiculous amount of money on stuff. And I don't have anybody that I could actually play against. So it'd be like HeroClix all over again, where I'd have a bunch of HeroClix and nothing to do with them.
The artwork is fantastic on these, and that's always been my draw, has been the artwork. I will say, not just the artwork. I've collected Doctor Who deck building games. I've collected DC before. I've collected them. I'm trying to think what other franchise. Marvel I've done. I always had the intention of I want to get all the cards and hopefully eventually play. It's just never, the playing part has never come to fruition. I would love to. The gaming night, like, I want to learn more about their gaming night at this place, because I think if I started playing, that would be fun. You know, just going and having a good time and, like, sitting around the table and playing these games. And, you know, as long as I was playing with people that don't mind a newbie and would kind of teach me. It goes to, like, some of our conversations in the past about, you know, playing Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. I'm into that kind of stuff. I could see myself really digging this, but I've done it where I've bought, like, too many cards for the purpose of trying to get one of every card to put them in the binder, so that way I've got my, like, protected set that, and everything else would be, in my mind, what if I actually played. The shoe boxes that I had filled with the other cards would be what I'd play with, versus the fact that probably the best cards are the ones I've only got one of.
Yeah.
But I really find the artwork, like, it's usually top-notch artists. It's original artwork that usually goes into these. So from an comic book artist standpoint, or, you know, similar artwork, it's usually really good. And so, I'm strangely intrigued by this. I'm wondering if they're going to, because the Justice League Dark stuff has me intrigued. I am really weird, like, about this nowadays. We've got these comic bans and just bans in general of books and things. I've never been for that. I think, you know, I'm going to say this as an educator. I believe schools have a curriculum for a reason. I think that obviously teachers need to make choices on texts and things like that based on the district curriculum, because that's put together by district staff that has been hired by a board of education for the purpose of serving the community. But to me, when you go to the library should be about having access to everything, and you know everything you possibly can, and being able to experience some things that I'm a big pleasure reader. I've always liked reading for that purpose. Everyone has different tastes and different needs off of that. The stuff that is getting banned nowadays, I'm like, for what? Or even books that are getting reworked, you know, for the purpose of kind of making them better for a contemporary audience. I think there's importance to dialogue around historical context. You know, when they got it wrong, let's talk about the why. You know, why would this book not be written today? Why should it not be written today? You know, as far as sensitivity and things like that, I think those things are important, you know, as far as for growth versus hiding from our past. It's interesting. I'm glad to see librarians kind of stepping up and trying to keep those doors open for that kind of content.
I'll tell you, banning books, banning this, and it's very dangerous because what's to say becomes the new target. You know, how easy, you know, there's some groups out there that it's religion based that they want to ban stuff. Well, what happens when your religion becomes the target? Right. You know, or what happens when your ideology becomes the target? Mm-hmm. You know, and that I think is, you know, one of the main reasons I am 100% against banning books or anything like that. Now, I'm all for parents saying, no, I don't want my child reading that.
Right. Yes.
I'm all for that. You know, as a kid, everything that I read, my mom knew what I was reading. Yeah. She 100% knew what I was reading, you know, and luckily the X-Men stuff, I kind of snuck by her because I, you know, when she wanted to see what I was reading, I handed her an old issue of X-Men, you know, where it was more of within the comic book code versus, the stuff I was kind of reading. So I was like, I would kind of sneak that one past Mom, but that's what you kind of have to do sometimes. But with, you know, most of the stuff I read, she knew exactly what I was reading. Music we listened to as kids, Mom knew exactly what we were listening to. So, you know, and if there was anything that we were doing that she didn't want us to do, she'd tell us, hey, no, you can't do that. Or, no, you can't see that movie. You know, and that, to me, is more of where I think, if censorship is going to happen, then that's where it should happen. There shouldn't be government entities. There shouldn't be politicians or, anybody else saying, no, you can't see this. No, you can't read this. No, you can't watch this movie. I'm like, that really does annoy me.
When did you actually start reading X-Men? Like when? I mean, you may not be able to pin it
was
down the
80s.
year.
That was the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would have been
back
before college.
Oh God, yeah, that was before high school.
Okay.
Okay. It was 6th grade.
Okay.
So what age is that?
Yeah,
I don't know. You're the teacher. You should know these things.
I don't teach 6th grade.
But no, that's back then. That's when I was reading. Well, I more
11 to 12 years old.
Yeah, I really first started reading comic books in the 4th grade. Yeah, and I know that for a fact because I was in Scouts then, and when I was in Scouts, that's when I was reading. But it was more of reading whatever I could get my hands on. When I got in the 6th grade, 6th, 7th, and 8th is when I actually was able to formulate an actual collection and actually buy books. Or actually, I was borrowing books from a guy, from a friend of mine, and he'd get the books, then he'd read them, then he'd let me borrow them, and he had a whole network of people who he's lending books to, and so that's how I was getting my taste of the X-Men and reading it, borrowing Dan's.
Okay. So you were reading like Claremont stuff then, right?
Oh God, yeah, yeah. Hence why I said I was kind of hiding that from Mom.
Got it. That's cool. These unused portraits are really cool. Jared posted these. They're from the Portraits of Villainy, and we get a look at Brainiac, Cheetah, Gorilla Grodd, Darkseid, Bizarro, Catwoman, Harley Quinn. I like seeing like the initial Alex Ross like portrait layouts that he was doing for those.
Oh God, yeah.
We have another from Jock, another Batman from 136. 136 is fantastic. 136 is Bruce's. If you haven't read Batman 136, here's why it's a great issue to read. It really explores what happens to Bruce when he's been through something major, and he's got to deal with the duality of the symbol that he's made Batman. What the image that when he puts on the mask that's there, and the man who's underneath, who is trying to recover from a traumatic event, a huge event. It does have impact on Bruce. He does have to get back in the zone. Serious things have happened to Bruce in this series, in recent issues, and this issue also focuses on him dealing with that and learning how to interact with the world based on a significant thing that has happened to him. It's a really good issue, 136.
Yeah.
I
loved it.
Also, tying in with Catwoman and so much of what's going on with her, Bruce's confrontation with Catwoman over the fact that she has escaped, and ultimately the two of them with their philosophical difference kind of come to a head, which was interesting. Thanos creator Jim Starlin praises The Flash for doing something that Marvel doesn't, and it's about how early in the film that the creator credits are put in, which is something that's really interesting.
Yeah, that's something we always like to see. When you see the special thanks to, and you have all the creators in there, and and there's acknowledgement of the comic book that created it and the people who created these things. I'm glad to see they're doing that.
Eli posted something super cool. I just saw Alexander Garfin, Jordan Kent of Superman and Lois in the lobby of my office building in downtown New York City hosting a Sing for Hope event. Sing for Hope partners with community-based organizations, mobilizes artists into creative service, and produces artist-designed Sing for Hope pianos across the United States and around the world. That's really cool.
I'll be honest with you. I've never said I've wanted to live in New York City, but stuff like this makes me want to.
Yeah, it's cool.
Things like you see stuff like this where a lot of New Yorkers have these moments that the rest of us go, oh, wow, that'd be really cool. And that's just a Tuesday for them. But I'm glad to see this guy out and about and doing some cool stuff.
Superman and Lois is getting a 10x episode renewal with some expected budget cuts, including cast reductions because of it. I'm glad to see more Superman and Lois. So, I don't want to see cast cuts because I love the cast on the show, but I'm glad that we're at least getting another 10-episode season. I guess what I'm wondering is this a sign of what's going to be happening more and more with regular, traditional television? Are we going to start getting more shorter seasons?
Yeah, and I read the article a little bit, and the budget cuts are going to go more on the supporting cast versus the primaries. So we're still going to get the main super family, but the supporting people around them, that's where they're probably going to cut down. And then by doing it only...
I called them up, and I told them, I said, listen, you really want to cut the budget on this show, but keep people, cut Superman out. If you just have Lois, but then keep all the supporting cast, you can keep 10 other people. It's
and all they got to do is this occasional blue blur. Oh, there's your father. They don't even have to remove him from the show. Just make him a giant blur.
Right. It's this show. I'm sad to see that because I think it's got a really, really strong cast. The one that wasn't really a shocker for me was Gotham Knights being canceled. I always thought it was kind of almost canceled upon arrival anyway. That being said, I really like the show. So I'm sad that it's canceled because I would want more than one season. I guess my hope was I walked in assuming hey, I'm watching this show that's already only going to be one season. Yeah. And because I had heard that was a possibility, I think, when it was launching, and maybe it was just something I read or, somebody being snarky or something, but they were right, that's for sure. I don't know what you're at as far as watching this show. I kept watching this. It's really good. I really enjoy Gotham Knights. I
am enjoying it. I own it. I purchased the full, I did the season pass, so I have the one and only season of this, so I'm all set. And again, I'm not surprised that they canceled it, but I did enjoy it. And I'm worried about, I'm always worried about the direction of superhero-based TV show. Well, TV shows that aren't reality contests, that aren't, air quotes, reality TV. The scripted reality shows. Those are the ones that seem to always survive. A regular TV show, it's harder and harder and harder for these things to survive. If you're not a cop drama or you're not a doctor drama, you have a harder road. And there's going to be some comedies people can point out, oh, that had 7 seasons, but just it is harder for just a regular scripted TV show to survive. For a superhero scripted TV show to survive. And I don't know. I'm not surprised, but I did enjoy it. I think another season, they really could have dived in and done a little bit more building on characters and whatnot, and it could have actually been a stronger show. You think about it. Sometimes actors, need time to develop a chemistry between them.
Yeah.
So I'm sad to see it go, but I'm not surprised. But again, it was funny because I was wondering if they were going to cut Lois and Superman, because I know I said before, I was wondering if they were going to cut Lois and Superman and keep the lower budget Gotham Knights, and they didn't do that. They cut Gotham Knights and then reduced Superman and Lois's budget.
Yeah, which was really interesting. I'm glad we got this Gotham Knights show because it was a good show, and I like experimental stuff like this. It's very Elseworldsy, and I'm glad that they put it. I'm surprised. I don't know how it got lost in the shuffle. It clearly did. James William Stubbs posted that Kevin Smith is going to publicly review Batman Forever's Schumacher cut. So there is an extended cut of Batman Forever. Would you be interested in seeing that cut?
Well, one, definitely, a Kevin Smith reviewing of it, that'd be kind of funny. But just on its own, Batman Forever Schumacher cut, I never knew it existed. And, I probably would have said no, but there's just something I'm like, I want to see how different that is.
I do too. Oh, I'm all, if they, here's the thing. if you're able to put this out, Warner, I will buy it. I want to buy it. I want to see it. It's worth me owning it to see it. So if there's a chance to make money off of this. I wonder how many fans would agree with that. I totally am in on it. So we got this cool from James William Stubb, the Dragon art, which was kind of cool, seeing Batman fighting with the stormtroopers, which was neat.
Yeah, they really can't shoot. I don't understand how, and it's one of those funny just memes of always how stormtroopers can't shoot. And I think I saw one where they took the helmet off, going, "Wow, we can see clearly now," and it's the helmet the whole time, and
I want to go to this Superman event that Jared took pictures of. It was Superman Celebration 2023, and he went with his family, which was really kind of cool to see. And he took some great pictures of, people in costumes and what was going on there. There were some celebrities there. He did a great job of reporting on this, so thank you so much. On Adult Swim, My Adventures with Superman premieres July 6th. Great chance to see a trailer of this one. This looks cool. The trailer looks really, really cool for this show.
Yeah, I know. It's... it's funny because it wasn't like on my radar. I must see this, because these things always just slip through the cracks for me. But you see stuff like this, you're like, oh, this looks kind of neat. I think I like this.
This was sad news this week. John Romita Sr. passed away, and probably best known for Spider-Man, but he's the Wolverine co-creator too. Dead at 93. First of all, I'm thrilled that he lived such a long life, but what an amazing talent. And whether you've actually read work of John Romita Sr.'s, we got the chance to really enjoy his artwork or not, I guarantee if you're a current comic reader that you are enjoying the work of somebody who was greatly influenced by this talent. Really, really cool artwork and such a legendary, iconic creator. And boy, it's sad news. I'm so thrilled, though. 93 years old is a really nice lifetime, and thrilled that he got to enjoy that. The great picture of him smiling. Jared posted this, and it's, wow. And right next to his version of Spider-Man, which to me is just, it takes me back to my childhood. Such an iconic one.
Yeah, and I know I've read his work, especially with the Wolverine stuff, and probably even the Spider-Man stuff, because he was probably working on that when Brother Bill was really heavy into Spider-Man. So I know I've seen his work, but it's one of those things where back when I was reading his work I wasn't paying attention to creators. So it's now, so when I saw he passed away, I'm like, obviously I knew the name, and I'm like, oh, let me look. And I started looking at some of the work, and I'm like, yeah, I know I read this stuff. I've seen his stuff. I've seen his work, and it's one of those things that,
Icon.
Yeah. Icon is a name. Yes, definitely. And it's, and it's like you sit there and you say, yeah, 93, that's a good one. That's a good run, but you're still sitting going, too soon, maybe, wish you could have hung out a little bit more, done another round, done something else,
I wish I'd had the chance to meet him.
Yeah.
Because I was a big fan of his era of Spider-Man and, just that work in general. And I'm finding as I'm getting older and some of the classic talent that you mentioned, the 80s, you and I both grew up in the 70s and 80s. We were both born in the early 70s. A lot of this talent now that was around, that were the contemporaries of that time, to your point, that were ones that the initial work that we were exposed to was work where you didn't know creators as much because you were too young to appreciate it, but yet these were the people that were creating these wondrous stories that were drawing you into the world of comics, right? Yeah. John Romita Sr. was very much one of those creators where my first exposure to him, I, like you, did not necessarily know creators. He entertained me. he drew me in. He's one of the reasons why I'm still a comic book reader today. Because I was a big Spider-Man fan growing up. Just as much as I was a Batman fan, 100% a Spider-Man fan. And Wolverine, oh my gosh, talk about co-creating Wolverine. What an amazing character that, as I continued to grow, I was neck and neck doing Uncanny X-Men and Teen Titans in a great era of comics. So it's people like him that have created these enduring works that they're a part of creation, and then they live on beyond them, and they grow to other creators who take them above and beyond, and they set the stage for just really, really talented stuff. Batman returns his books to the library. Yeah, that's pretty clever. Twisted Raphael Grampa series Batman Gargoyle of Gotham coming September 2023. This looks cool. I like the artwork a lot.
Yeah, again, another Gotham creepy artwork. Okay. Kind of curious to see where this plays out.
Yeah, he makes the choice, a definitive choice, to kill off the Bruce Wayne identity for good and embrace the cape and cowl full time. So, an interesting little miniseries.
Yeah.
And this is a Dark Label miniseries that's launching there.
And it's funny, that's something I always wondered what would happen to the heroes.
Yeah.
If any of them did that. Like with Clark even. One of the things that keeps him so grounded is Lois and his family. With Bruce, if he ever went full-on Batman, what would happen to him? So definitely kind of curious on this one. Want to see this.
Maybe in the Superman Lois TV series, if you want to save money on budget, just don't let him be Clark. Just one outfit. Done. The American Libraries Association's New Comics Initiatives. This is pretty cool. They are putting together graphic novels and coffee and comics roundtables and rolling out new initiatives geared towards serving and supporting librarians. This is kind of cool. This group's getting together. ALA's Graphic Novels and Comics Roundtable. I like the idea of them doing more outreach with comics and really trying to educate libraries and getting more of that comic content in there, because I think there's an audience to be met there. That's cool.
Comic books could be a gateway drug for reading and whatnot for kids.
Always been my exposure when it comes to students. Yeah. Games Radar's showing, if you haven't seen him before, and we've talked about this on the show, every new movie and show confirmed by James Gunn and DC Studios. So it's super cool. There is some detailed clarification about certain shows and what format they're going to be. So thank you, James, for posting them. So if you haven't had a chance to see them, head on over to the Facebook group. He also posted Bones Coffee Company now has a Spider-Man coffee. I have no idea if it's any good or not, but I can wholeheartedly recommend their Fudge blend, which is only available around the holidays. So here's the thing. He's got I wonder if the Spider-Man has a blend to it, like something else. Let's see. Smashing, get your flavor senses tingling. It's a medium roast. Looks like it's not like flavored other than beyond just a regular medium roast. But, oh no, I'm sorry, crispy marshmallow treat flavored coffee. All right, now they got me. I like flavored coffee. Are you a coffee drinker?
I drink coffee, but I'm not a coffee drinker. It's functional for me. Okay. Not spiritual.
Okay, yeah, no, I love flavored coffee, stuff like this. Like, he has me now, like, the Fudge blend was cool around the holidays, so I'll have to look for that. But the idea that they've got a Spider-Man blend that is a crispy marshmallow treat flavor, I'll at least try it to see if it's something that's cool. So thank you for posting that. Thank you for everybody who posts in the Facebook group. This stuff's super cool.
Reaching melting point. Not sure we can make it.
How you doing, Sean and Jim? Just wanted to tell you guys you're doing a wonderful job with this podcast. And let's talk about streaming services and the state of DC comic books. Let's talk about the streaming services first. I know everybody is down with the streaming services and hear about people moving content, but look here. The streaming services have so much stuff on these services. You can live 3 lifetimes and not going to be able to watch all this stuff anyway. What I do is I'm off Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and do that week, I'll just stick to one streaming service. So I'll watch everything on Netflix, like Blue, Sweet Tooth or whatever. And then next week, I'll watch all Max. Like this week has been a Max week. I've been doing Max all week because it's new, reinvigorated. So, and I've been enjoying it. I watch the Shazam movie again. And that's what I do with these apps. I just circle and you find something good, like on Netflix. I saw this show called Ragnarok about Thor in the modern age. It was pretty good. I mean, great stuff. We never gonna run out of stuff to watch because stuff is constantly being moved. On Amazon Prime, they got this new show called Power about all women getting the power to shoot electrical power out their body. 9 episodes, amazing. I pretty much binge watched that. Great show. Apple TV got a new show called Silo, which is amazing, about 10,000 human beings in this silo, and they got the world thinking that everybody on the outside is dead or you can't go outside. It's so much stuff to watch. You're never going to go watch all this stuff. Back to Max. Max got a couple episodes of Doctor Who, a couple seasons of that I got to get to. Like I'm saying, we got unlimited watching. There's no reason to be complaining about anything. But now let's go to the DC universe. The Don of DC is killing it. See, right now, they knocking it out the park. Only thing that is kind of frustrating, you don't know what's going to be an ongoing or mini-series. The Cyborg series, much of my chagrin, it's going to be 6 issues. And that's kind of disappointing because the character is a technological character. We're in a technological age. I don't know how that book does not make it for some reason. I don't understand it. He had a great power set. He's a great character. And I just don't understand why people don't want to pick this guy up from month to month. I just don't get it. It's just strange to me. Hopefully the Green Lantern book will go more than 12. DC told the guy 12 with a possibility of it being longer, but I listened to the writer on the Green Lantern cast, the blog of Orr, and he said he's only going to do it for 12 issues. So hopefully they bring in a new writer. But then sometime when that happens, people don't like the new direction, and the sales drop again. So let's hope that Green Lantern keeps going, and let's hope with this Green Lantern so we get a Green Lantern core book, some type of way incorporated with the rest of the Green Lantern universe. Because without the core, it's kind of slightly different. At least have Hal and the other guys going back, Joshua going back and visit Orr, so at least we can see all the wild alien characters of the core. I just got to read Steelwork and Titans. With Steelwork, I just hate that it's only 6 issues. The book, the way the premise is set out, it kind of needs to be longer than that because he has a great vision, and I don't think you can fit that all in 6 issues unless they were double-sized. So, and they're not going to double-size a book like that because for fear of pricing. For Steelwork, they just need some more time because you got wonderful characters. You got the Lana Lane in the book. You got his niece, him, and they just need more time. The Shazam book is off to a wonderful start, and DC just released a Milestone Initiative book, about 96 pages. But get this, the book only $3.99. Usually those books are $9, so they charge you $3.99 for 12 short stories, and the stories are wonderful. So please pick this book up and check it out. It's an amazing with new artists and new writers who've done little limited stuff before, indie stuff, little DC work. It'll show you everything that they did inside the book itself. Please go pick that book up. You guys keep on rating. You're doing a wonderful job on this podcast, and you keep making them. I'll keep listening. Thank you.
It's an interesting conversation when you talk about streaming services because I think it's a complicated conversation because I've had my own frustration where programs I'll use on Disney Plus. They removed the Jeff Goldblum show, The World According to Jeff Goldblum, and I think what they're doing with some of these is there's 2 factors that cost a lot in streaming services. I guess storage and capacity, and also the fact that these shows are ones where if they write them off. Especially expensive shows like Willow that was on there and things like that. Willow was one that I wanted to watch, but I just hadn't gotten to. And I wanted to watch it just because I'm a George Lucas fan. I liked the original movie. I wanted to watch it. I just, timing-wise, I never got to it, and it was pulled from Disney Plus. And I'm like, well, I'm paying for that streaming service. I want to watch it. And the problem is, when they're removing them from the streaming service, if they write them off as a loss, I think that means you can't, sell it. You can't show it elsewhere, if that's what they're doing. And that's just one streaming service as an example. So he's right in the sense that, oh my gosh, I've got so much stuff to watch. I'm talking about shows right now that I haven't been able to get to, which means I'm prioritizing other things. So there's validity in everything he's saying, but I think the part of the argument is, what about the thing that I wanted to watch that I never got to? And that's always my worry now. It's like, oh my gosh, I got to scramble to get to certain, really focus on getting to certain things. I guess I've liked with the streaming service, based on my mood, I can watch a couple episodes of this, a couple episodes of that, and go to the new show that was like, oh, I really want to watch that, and know I can come back to that old show. And when things are being pulled, it starts to put some vulnerability on how I watch, if that makes any sense. So that's where I get concerned. I kind of see all avenues of it. And it's an interesting... Where are you at with streaming services? Because ownership winds up being a thing for me on that. I'm realizing more and more, I don't own this stuff. And if it's something that I really want to watch, it's not necessarily going to be there when I want to watch it.
Yeah, see, one of the things lately Dad and I do, we'll sit back and just relaxing, and I'll throw on and just seeing what movies are out there, seeing what shows are out there, and we'll start binge watching stuff. And and I go back and we'll watch, as I said recently, we just did the whole Sons of Anarchy. Then we did the Mayans, and we're now up to date on the Mayans, and so we're going through the different streaming stuff using that service and whatnot. So for me, it's more of a killing time kind of thing, or Dad and I, what are we going to do tonight? Well, let's just watch this. Oh, okay, let's figure that out. And we just search through and see what looks interesting. If any TV shows pique our interest, we'll go back and we'll watch them from the beginning. So I kind of like being able to binge watch some shows, like the TV show Alone. It's a survival show where 10 people are put out alone, last person standing gets some money. Well, I've been watching it since the beginning. Dad hadn't, so I went, the one service it's on, grabbed it, watched it from the beginning, and now Dad and I are watching it when it comes out. We did the same thing on BattleBots. I love BattleBots. I've been watching it since the very beginnings. Dad never did. So first thing we did was went through, binge watched all the BattleBots to current, and now we're current and watching the current stuff. So for me, it's, a lot of times it's a time killer. When I want to own something, I own it. So for the different TV series and the different movies, I actually own them. I went and I do my iTunes and I buy them, and it's saved on my computer, my iTunes account, my computer and whatnot. So I've got them if I need them. And I've gone back and I've watched sometimes, and sometimes I have it just as a comfort. So yes, if I ever want to watch it, I can watch it. So for me, I'm again, I still have the regular cable. I still have all the other stuff. So streaming service is just another extra add-on for me. It's not based on the Lifeline. Now, there's some stuff like hearing Willow went away. I never got a chance to watch it. I thought it was kind of cool. And maybe one day I would have watched it. But, ideas of stuff disappearing do get to me because I'm like, oh, I didn't get to watch it. Oh, well. And I move on, and I move on to the next thing. Or sometimes, there's a series called Swamp People. It's alligator hunters, and they don't have all the seasons out there. They only have the latter seasons. I'm like, dang it, come on! I want, because one, I want to play all the seasons, but two, if I want to watch the first episode. And there's been a couple of times when I wanted to see something, and they'll only have some of the seasons, not all of them. And those are the times that annoy me. Like, you've got seasons 7, 8, and 9, but not 1 through 6. Come on, give me all of them, So that, if they're going to stream it, that's my complaint. If you're going to stream it all. Give us everything Family Guy is that way, but Family Guy is on multiple networks and they've had a multiple history of where they're located at. So I kind of understand why it's hard to find those. But still, if it's a regular show, it's always been on the History Channel. I don't know why the Histories Channel and Discovery Plus doesn't have all the seasons on there. Give me everything.
I get the reason why, though, and the reality is, and first of all, let's go back to his comments. I get what he's trying to say. Is listen, I get where you guys are coming from. There's reasons why people are stressed or upset or down on streaming services right now. Let's remember that these streaming services are still loaded with a ton of content, and there's plenty of choice out there of things to watch. He's right. So I'm going to totally go off of that piece as far as where thematically what he's saying. I think the other side of the story is, where does the frustration come from? On the streaming service end, what's really happening is, if you look behind the scenes, these companies are losing money. The ones that were profitable, their profits are shrinking as competitions come out. Nobody's like Disney's losing money left and right. They're trying to make their streaming service profitable, and they're trying to head towards a path that will make it to that. Netflix is trying to stay as close as they were to the leader of this whole thing. I know HBO, since the HBO Max kicked off, the combination, what we're seeing now is a lot more of these partnerships, right? We're seeing it with Paramount Plus and Showtime, HBO Max and Discovery. Again, trying to consolidate some of these things so that way they're profitable. But that's also meaning, as they've combined, they've shrunk some of the content that was available. Still, to his point, an immense amount of content for what you're paying for each month. And he's right on all of that. I think there's a difference between a streaming service and ownership, and I think we need to get comfortable with the fact that a streaming service gives us the right to access to a large library of content each month at our fingertips. There is no guarantee that all of that content is going to stay available for an indefinite amount of time. We're clearly seeing that now. We need to know we're getting a certain amount of convenience in what we're paying for. If it's something, to your point, that you really are worried about and you have the ability to own it, own it. And that's really kind of, I think, the messaging that's got to come out of all this. But I'm a big fan of streaming services. I think they're a great thing. I think the conversation's great. I think he's bringing up some great arguments. Let's move on to, we talk about comics, right? Let's talk about Steelworks and series like that, where comics seem to now be taking, I think, an approach that's become very, very much streaming influenced. We're now getting series that, instead of launching them as an ongoing, they're launching a lot more into miniseries as like a first season to see if it takes. And if so, does it get a season 2? Does it get an expanded season? Do we move on to an ongoing? It's a lot more of, a current television approach to it. I am with him that there's so many series like Cyborg and things like that I would like to see continue into an ongoing. I didn't know that Cyborg was a mini. A lot of this now, I'm excited that there's this new series and I want to follow it. And they've been good. Dawn of DC's been, I think, a very, very successful approach to this. I like the series that they put out, whether it's mini or otherwise. And if I'm hoping that people are trying these books, and books like Steelworks, which he's really passionately referencing on here, and I agree with his love of Steelworks. We're going to talk about it on the show in the future. Books like Steelworks it's a great. Have you get a chance to read Steelworks yet?
Yes, it's absolutely wonderful.
So Steelworks is, I know you're a big fan of that. I actually would have been shocked if you said, nah, I didn't get to that one yet. I'm like, Jim and John.
Well, I jumped on that.
Yeah, I was going to say Jim and John Henry Irons. I'm pretty sure that was like a must read right away. It delivered. It's really a good book. So I get his passion for it, and I'm with him. I would love more pages. I'd love more issues. Hopefully word of mouth will help with this book.
Yeah, pun intended. It hit with a hammer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm hoping some of the TV ads are bringing in some people. Maybe lapsed readers who haven't read comics in a while will come back and try some of these books out. And, here's the thing. Death of Superman was big. The Lois and Clark TV series has a great presence of John Henry Irons on it. So, there's an opportunity for, or Superman and Lois, I'm sorry, Lois and Clark. Superman and Lois has a great presence with their version of John Henry Irons. So, hopefully there's people that will want to read that character. So I'm really, really cool with the idea of that series continuing on. I appreciate his phone call. I think there's a lot of thoughts that he was sharing there about that. Where are you at on these miniseries? Like, do you like this approach of kicking books off with these miniseries? Have you liked the miniseries so far? Do you feel like they feel truncated?
Actually, I do like this. I like this idea because, again, if it doesn't become anything, then I have a beginning, middle, and end. I'm okay with it because the writers are creating their stories to be this miniseries. Then if it continues on, if they expand it on or do another season or something, then they continue on the story. For me, it will seem more complete. Now, I'm like you, give me more and I'll keep reading it. But I understand why they're doing this. And we've already seen in certain series, Poison Ivy for one, where it started off as a mini, expanded, and they said, hey, let's make it ongoing because it's doing so well. I'm hoping some of these others that are introduced as miniseries will actually become a full-time, an ongoing series. I'd love to see that. Or if they only say, we're just going to keep it in season 1, season 2, just do limited series. Okay, as long as I keep getting the stories. That's the thing for me. Keep giving me more. Give me different. Give me different characters. Give me, I love my character. I love Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. I love them. But I want to have the other stuff. The other day we talked about, a Wonder Woman series that's outside of Wonder Woman. I'd love to see that. Bat Family has so many different characters that I'd love to see the Bats continuing. So yeah, I'm okay with how they're doing as long as they keep doing this, keep giving us these limited series that are not just about the main title characters. Mm-hmm. Give us this other stuff, and I'm happy.
Expand the universe, keep the universe alive, and keep going in different directions. Yeah. And hopefully some of these things really have legs to them. And sales numbers drives this. I mean, it's one of the pieces that none of us have ever liked in comics. None of us are ever comfortable about. I admit I'm in denial about sales numbers all the time. But there's a truth to sales numbers drive all of this. And it's pretty doggone critical. I'm with his love and passion for the books that he's reading. Let's end off this with talking about the Green Lantern interview that he was discussing. I haven't heard the interview yet, but I want to seek it out. But he mentioned that the writer was saying that he's on for 12 issues, and at least it sounded like the implication was from that was when the writer was done. If that's all the writer wants to do, and they're going to wrap up their story in 12 issues. What I always prefer in that case is either one of two things. Either if the writer wants to continue and the book is successful, please let that creative team continue on, writing and art, and continue on with the direction for the universe they're crafting. If that story comes to an end, have a plan for what comes next, so that way there's a connection. So it builds off of the story that was there. It's okay to head in new directions, just don't jarringly change things for us where it doesn't feel like this is a continuation of the story that came before. We see that happen in films, right, with sequels, where sequels that feel like they are flowing from the ongoing continuity tend to have a much more familiar feel, and you feel much more comforted when you come into that world. Sequels that, and I'm talking about direct sequels, I'm not talking about where they reimagine or relaunch or things like that. The Batman movies, I think, are a great example. The 89, obviously the first two movies felt very connected. The sequels, not as much. And I liked the sequels, don't get me wrong. The Val Kilmer one in particular, there's a lot I love about the Val Kilmer sequel. But it started to feel less and less like it was connected to the first two Burton films. And I think when comics do that same thing, it becomes kind of jarring. I want to feel that I like new direction, new writers having a new chance to do that, but at least make me feel like these are the same characters that experienced the things that I read before. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. Thanks for calling in. I appreciate phone calls like this. It's interesting to, he gave me a lot to process. I don't know about you. Yeah.
Come on, Skreel. Let's pay these Plutonian beam makers a visit. I
would like to remind everyone about our show voicemail line. It's 1-440-388 888-4434 or drnorge on Skype. We love having you part of the show. RagingBullets@gmail.com is the email address. You prefer to contact us that way? RagingBullets.com is our show website, and our website feeds into Twitter. It also feeds into our Facebook fan page. We are proud to be part of an amazing Facebook group community, and we're doing a 2-episode catch-up on some of the DC news and comic book news in general that have been posted over in our Facebook group. But please consider joining that and participating in that discussion. As always, I want to thank the whole team of people over there that are participating in the Facebook group discussion, because they really do feed a lot of our discussions on this podcast. So thank you very much for that. Sponsoring us, as always, is DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Over at DCBService.com, you can pre-order Wonder Woman #1. Regularly $4.99, 50% off, only $2.49. Over at InStockTrades.com, of course, you can check out the deals of the week. Batman vs. Robin hardcover, $29.99 regularly, 50% off, only $14.99. And the Sword of Azrael trade paperback, $19.99 regularly, 50% off, only $9.99. Once again, I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Our next episode, Jim and I are going to be back, and we're going to be talking about Flash number 800. We will see you then.
Bye.
All right, you guys. Are you ready to sing your song?
I'd say we are. Yeah, let's sing it now.
Okay, this should be fun. Now get ready for your cue. Okay, Sean?
Okay.
Okay, Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Raging Bullets time is here. We talk about what we hold dear. Comic books and TV shows. Superheroes and their clothes. Justice League and so much more. I just love Green Lantern Corps. We talk about the books we've read with spoilers straight ahead.
Okay, fellas, get ready. That was very good, Sean.
Naturally.
Jim, you're a little flat there, so be careful. Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Justice League and so much more. I still love Green Lantern Corps. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show.
Excellent job, guys.
Let's sing it again. Yeah, let's sing it again.
No, that's enough. Let's not push it.
Push it. What is that? Yeah, what are you talking about?
No, I didn't mean anything by that.
I think
Sean,
it's right
Jim,
there. I don't know.
how long do you want the song to go?
Look, it's our production.